relationship like with him before he passed away?
We weren't close. I didn't live with him full time, but he was like 2.5 hours away. So I was like visiting and seeing him. He would come down and see me. I live with
Mhm.
my mom, and my grandma, but he would come down and I would go up. I was actually meant to spend the following week with my dad.
Oh my God, that was crazy too.
Yeah, so we were supposed to, so he was killed on a Thursday, and like that weekend was supposed to be kind of like the swap. And I was supposed to go up, stay with him for a week, and potentially longer. I mean, it was summertime, so like sometimes I'd be like, I want to stay, and like I'm with my sister and whatever.
Right.
But like I was meant to be there for the week with my dad. It had already been coordinated, organized, like everything was in place for me to go there. And obviously, that didn't happen, but yeah.
And then you discovered that your dad was a drug dealer who turned into an informant. And I thought it was funny because you was like, somebody was like, yeah, he was a voluntary informant. I'm like, who wants to be a voluntary informant? Like,
Right. Yeah. What does that even really mean?
right.
You're an informant because they're about to get you for something and you don't want to go to prison or do time or, whatever it is or pay the fine or whatever. And yeah, I mean, my dad was a victim of, again, a very dark system that exploits
Mhm.
mostly Black people into doing police bidding and getting killed because the police don't want to put themselves in the line of fire of like going after these drug dealers. So they just pit them against each other and,
Absolutely.
use them as sort of this shield. And
To
if
do
they
their work.
die, it's fine. It doesn't matter.
Right.
There's this term that they use within police departments across the country called misdemeanor murder. And it's used for when drug dealers kill other drug dealers or murderers kill
Mm.
other murderers, or whatever. And it's sort of used to like say when someone is killed that isn't useful to society, they call it a misdemeanor murder because the person who did it is probably never going to go to jail or get time for the murder because the police don't care enough to spend resources to catch that person because in their mind, well, they took care of someone else for us. And
Damn, that's deep.
yeah, it's a commonly used term. Um, they also use like NHI, no human involved killing. So they really treat these people like they're not people at all.
Wow. Damn. So when you learned all this stuff about your father, did that change how you viewed him?
Um, Kind of, but in like the opposite way. Like maybe would make you think I was like, damn, my dad sucked. But I was like, damn, like what a multifaceted guy.
Right?
Like, oh my God. Like, because I had no idea that this was going on. So like he was really able to like still be a good
Keep it
dad and
separate. Yeah.
do all this stuff. So I'm like, wow, like he really was like a multitasker. Like maybe that's where I get it from. So yeah, I mean it was like very interesting to find out, of course. And it makes you question a lot of things. I mean, I'm like, Mom, what the hell were you doing with like a drug dealer? Like, what is going on? But at the end of the day, it's like that's my family, that's my dad. But yeah, it definitely had me thinking about a lot of different things and a lot of different aspects of, what my life would have been like with my dad, what would have happened, what would have been, and I'll never know. And it's sad, it's unfortunate, and it's frustrating sometimes, but it's nice in a way that I get to have this opportunity now to kind of get to know my dad and learn about him and
Hmm.
learn about, what kind of friend he was and what kind of person he was and what he was doing with his spare time and, when he wasn't being a dad, what he was up to. And I do think that my dad had really good intentions with what he was doing. And I think his priority and every decision he made always really tied back to like, I want to build a better life for my children.
Yeah.
And I just think that when you look at it from that perspective, it really changes the way that you think about drug dealers in general. Um,
Hmm.
I definitely have built sort of an empathy for people who are in that lifestyle and doing that work now,
Same.
because of this. And, it doesn't make it right. And I don't justify what my dad was doing by any means. I think that drugs are really dangerous and responsible for, overdoses, and people are dying every day from like, drug deals just going really south. And I don't necessarily think that that's like a great, noble career by any stretch. But I do have an understanding now of kind of that world and what happens behind closed doors and why that's going on. And it's a lot more systemic than
Yeah.
it appears to be on the surface. But yeah, I've enjoyed getting to know my dad in my late 20s through the lens of, his friends and family.
Yeah, and I also thought it was kind of intuitive that he knew that it felt like he was mentally preparing himself for death. Like he
Yeah.
knew it was coming.
Yeah. I think my dad was someone who was so paranoid that it was almost psychic in a way,
Yeah.
where I don't know if he manifested it or if he just knew, but yeah, I think he recognized the life that he was sort of born into and then consequently the choices he had made, and
Right.
he knew his fate was written on the wall. And it was just a
That's
matter
so
of
fucked up though.
yeah. Yeah.
Now, another part of the story where I was like, Madison, what are we doing here? Is when you was telling the story about your dad when he ran a bar and it was sex workers upstairs, and Madame Marie, she used to sell the babies of those sex workers who didn't want to keep them, and she was selling the babies for like 20K.
Hmm.
And I was like, where did she get this from?
Yeah, so it's an old like I guess rumor through this town. This woman, Madame Marie, she was based in Philadelphia. Um, and she owned and operated this house where there were sex workers on one side and this sort of illegal adoption ring on the other. And
That
once
is crazy.
the sex workers, if they ever got pregnant, she then, they were required to remain clean so that they could have healthy babies. And so they moved
Right.
to the other side of the house where they had to remain clean and they were, eating well and doing all the things that you need to do when you're pregnant to have a healthy baby. And yeah, it's I've never been able to sort of verify any of that as far as like I don't know who Madame Marie is. I don't have any sort of adoption paperwork. Obviously, this was all very under the table, so I don't know if that would have even existed.
Right.
But I've heard that that story has been told to me by several people, including the police. My mom heard it from directly from my dad. The police knew about this. It's this very weird sort of story that's attached to my dad's murder and just continued to be passed down. Um, and the details are murky and, unsure of if Shane, my brother, who was part of this sort of program, was taken home with the family and then retrieved, or if he ever left the hospital with them at all, and or if Deneen kept the baby on her and didn't let him go, or if they didn't want him because he was born addicted to drugs. And Shane
Mm.
still has a lot of mental health issues as a result of being born in this condition. And so it's very unclear kind of what went down in that moment and when that was happening. But everyone that I've spoken to, it's the one story, weirdly, that has remained consistent between everyone's retelling of this.
Right.
A lot of details change person to person about a lot of things. And the one thing that has remained really consistent is this Madame Marie story.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's a whole nother story on its own. So yeah. Oh,
Well,
God
yeah, and if
bless you,
that's
bro.
happening in 2002 and happening so underground, I can only imagine how sophisticated those houses and systems are in
Mm.
2025 and how underground they are. So yeah, it is again, it goes back to like this is so much bigger than my dad. And is there a world where like someone comes forward and is like, I worked for Madame Marie, or I know who that is, or she's still doing this and this is what's going on.
You
There's
think
lots
she's
of
still alive?
I don't know. I don't know.
Wow. God bless your brother, man, because I can only imagine how that's messing with him.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Are y'all close?
We've never met. We are friends on Facebook. We talk
Hmm.
sometimes, but we've never met in person before.
Do you want to meet him?
Yeah, I'm open to that for sure. He does have a lot of
Things
stuff
going
going
on?
on.
Yeah.
So yeah. But of course I'm like very open to I would love to meet all my siblings. I've only met one.
And that's your sister.
Hmm.
How many siblings you have? Because I know your daddy love him some women, child.
Yeah, I have so Shane's my younger brother, and I have four older siblings outside of Alyssa, so four older than both of us. One of them I've heard is has passed away. I think during COVID there was some potentially like illness complication situation there. Um, and then the other three are still alive, and I haven't met them before.
I'm surprised y'all haven't linked up yet.
Yeah, it's
I can,
complicated.
yeah, I guess I was gonna say I can only imagine how complicated and challenging it is.
I've
Yeah.
met, my older brother. I met his daughter. So she and I are friendly. She used to live in LA, so we met up. It's funny, she's technically my niece, but she's older
Mm.
than me.
Damn, how
So
old is your brother?
um he's gotta be 40, late 40.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. This is
Yeah.
the one that was in jail, right?
Yeah, Joel.
Yeah.
So his daughter, we met. We just saw each other like less than a month ago. But yeah, she is really cool, and it's funny because she's like, we just tell each other we're cousins because it's like complicated to be like, oh yeah,
Right.
my niece.
Right. Right.
But yeah, so it's pretty funny. So yeah, she and I are cool, and that's fun. And yeah, but I've never met him before. We talked before, obviously, but we've never met.
Right. What do they think about what you're doing?
Um, Joel and his sister, my sister too, but sister like full sister because they share my dad and the mom.
Hmm.
I don't think they're super excited about it. My oldest sister, Kathy, is pretty enthusiastic. But she's like probably this like she's like older. I was gonna say the same age as my mom, but that wouldn't make any sense. I think she's like 10 years younger than my mom. So she's like older. I mean, she's
Oh,
like in her
wow.
50s and like I don't know if she like fully is like, understanding like my grandma doesn't know what a podcast is. So like I don't know if she
Right.
fully understands. But she's like, yeah, like good for you.
Right.
But
How's your
yeah,
hobby going?
yeah. So but they're like, they're friendly enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, another red flag that I noticed that you mentioned is that they didn't tape off the house or anything. Like anybody was able to walk freely. And that's why I'm like, damn, what if the police is really involved in this? Because I would assume that during a crime scene, especially, with a person, a dead body being in there, like, why did y'all not tape it off and do y'all due diligence to figure out what was going on? Like, how is that even possible?
Yeah. I think about this a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's in the very best case scenario, it's horrible negligence. And at the
Right.
very worst case scenario, it's protecting their involvement. And neither is a good thing. And I look at it like this is how I see it. And I'm not in charge of our justice system. So I can see it however I want. And this is how
Right.
I see it like if my friend commits a murder and I drive the getaway car, I go
Hmm.
to jail too. They get 20 years, I get 10. Like I'm an accomplice because I helped them get away with murder. If
Right.
police don't tape off a scene, don't swipe for fingerprints, don't look for a suspect, don't do anything really, essentially they're helping someone get away with murder.
Exactly. Because now
So
everything's
why are
contaminated.
they not considered an accomplice now in murder because they've now allowed someone to walk free? And,
That is crazy.
that's just how I see it. I know that's not, the reality and of how the world sees it and the system sees it, but to me, it's no different than driving a getaway car.
And it also makes me feel like this is how you view people that look like us.
100%. I mean, there's a reason why. they didn't tape off the scene. And it's not because they're stupid. They're dumb, but they're not stupid.
Right.
And, the first thing you learn is tape off a scene at a suspected homicide.
And
So the
nobody
fact
can
that they
enter.
didn't do that is wildly suspicious.
Yeah. Now, have you and your sister, what was that conversation like? The one who was there, like, do y'all still talk or are y'all close?
We still talk, yeah. We aren't like super close, but we talk quite a bit. I mean, I'd say like every couple weeks we're like talking or we're sharing like articles or oh, did you see this? And what about this?
Right.
What you thought about this? So yeah, we're still in touch, for sure.
Yeah. Now, as you dug deeper into your father's case, several names kept coming up. So you have Omar, who is your cousin, Daryl, who's an associate of your father, and Rico, who is his nephew. So Omar was a key witness, but he kept changing his story under oath. So what do you think he's hiding? Because I really do feel like Omar knows exactly who did it, but I'm like, what? If you don't want to be involved, then just don't say nothing at all.
Exactly. And that's what's so funny because he is just like, it's almost like he loves inserting himself in the middle of this. It's so crazy. And what's, again, back to the police is like really weird for me is that they never worked him as a suspect. They were instructed by their higher ups to only work him as a witness. And so
Right.
I think that gave Omar this sort of confidence that he was never going to be considered a suspect, which then gave him this authority to like kind of run his mouth because he could, because he knew they're never going to work me as a suspect. So it doesn't
Right.
matter what I say or what I do. And so I think that is really bizarre.
And then we have Rico, who's your father's nephew, who was serving a life sentence after your father snitched on him, which led Rico to get charged with a Rico.
Mhm.
And I'm like, when I was listening to y'all conversation, I kind of felt like, damn, like no matter what I feel like he really still loved your father.
Yeah, the Rico interview was probably the most surprising for me. Um,
Right.
I I I left feeling really weird, like very conflicted and confused.
You definitely felt from a listener's point of view. I feel like you felt different with his interview compared to like with Daryl.
Yeah, yeah, I did. I felt, yeah, and then maybe there's this element of like the blood level where
Right.
we're related. And I think that was really, and there's so much, more that I didn't even put because it was long. We talked for a long time, but
And he felt
um,
comfortable with you.
yeah. But then, it goes back to like Rico got that Rico charge when he was young. I mean, there was a lot of speculation he was taking the fall for someone else because how could this like 19-year-old really be the ringleader of this group? And
Right.
a lot of people on the other side were saying, no, he is like a charmer. He's smart. He is capable of leading like a group of 50 drug dealers ranging from age 16 to 55 because he's
Mm.
really smart. And, that was a common theme among people I talked to get background on Rico was Rico's tactful. He's smart. He knows how to live and how to play the game of life. And so going into that interview kind of with that knowledge and then hearing him talk, it's very disorienting because you're like, what's real and what's not?
Right.
What's, real raw emotion and what's you trying to cover your ass? I don't know. And I can't really decipher because you're so good at this. Uh,
Right.
and
That's scary.
it was very jarring and it was very scary because he was saying a lot of the right things.
He
Uh,
was. He was talking
and
about grandma. I was like, nah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, he knew what to say and it made sense why for years, a lot of my family members were like, "Oh, we love Rico.
Hmm.
Like, we love him. We go to his house all the time. He has us over. He throws parties, cookouts. He has the kids over. They swim in his pool. Like, we love him." And I'm like, "Oh, I get it. Like, I get it. But is it all real? I don't know. I don't know."
Yeah. Yeah, and then even when he was saying how like he's proud of you, and he was like, somebody in the family got to make it, and I was just like, damn, like this is a lot.
Hmm.
This is a lot. And then you have your conversation with Daryl. He reached out to you after listening to your podcast, and looking back, like, how do you feel about that conversation? Because I feel like Daryl was, I don't know, Daryl just don't sit right with me because then later on we found out he's in jail bragging about killing somebody.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Um, my conversation with Daryl was really crazy too.
And you
But
was really going, I can your emotions. Oh man. I
yeah,
I felt your energy.
I was nervous. I was very, it
Yeah.
was my first time, and that was in person. With Rico, we were on the phone, so it was a little bit different too. We didn't get to like see each other. With Daryl, I had spent all day in the library, so I was sitting the room we were in for like most of the day, and then he met up with me in the afternoon, and gosh, it was so crazy seeing him in person. I mean, this is someone I've like seen mugshots of for like 6 years. I've been like looking up for a long time. I've been doing a lot of research on, and then we had, exchanged some messages. So to meet in person, it was like it's just crazy. It
Yeah.
was
And he felt
crazy.
it too. He knew you was nervous.
Yeah, yeah. It was really, really crazy. And he was also very manipulative in a way where it was like super charming and eager to help. I think that's sort of the MO of a lot of these people is like they want it to seem like they want me to find out what happened so that
Right. Like
they
they on y'all on the same team.
yeah, 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 we're doing the same thing. And Rico kind of did the same thing too where he was like, I want you to like be successful and do the thing. And it's like,
Grandma
okay,
would be happy.
yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, like I don't whatever. So yeah, it was very interesting, but yeah, the Daryl stuff was weird because I got really excited when he first reached out because he was like, oh yeah, everyone in prison's talking about your podcast, and I was like, hey, if I'm gonna have an audience, like at least
Right.
people who literally can't go anywhere, they have to sit there and listen. I'm
That's
the
a
only
guaranteed
thing they
download.
have. Yeah, yeah. So I was like, okay, I guess that's good.
Right.
But yeah, it was just funny because I was like, oh, interesting. But yeah, I was really eager to meet up with him because again, I mean, he was the police's main suspect. So I thought in my mind at least he'd have some info. And he gave a lot of context and stuff, but he obviously didn't talk a lot about the murder because he says he wasn't there and he didn't do it and blah blah blah. But um yeah, it's really interesting how he reached out to me.
Mhm.
And I had to Rico kind of came to me too through his daughter who reached out and said like, "Hey, if you're going to talk about my dad, like my dad said he wants to talk to you." So he kind of came to me also, but then I, had to be like on top of him as well to be like, "Hey, let's do this."
Right. Because I feel like he was a little hesitant in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, and I didn't hear from him until a lot of episodes were out, and that what he didn't reach out to me until I talked to Daryl. Once he found out I talked to Daryl is when I heard from his daughter that was like, "Oh, my dad's going to talk to you." So that was really interesting. Um, and kind of says a lot given the context that Rico was very adamant he knows who did it and just wasn't going to tell me. The fact his timing of reaching out to me was like, okay, is this a clue? Is this a sign? Are you trying to say something? So it was very interesting.
We're almost finished, but after all the conversations that you have, who do you feel like is being the most honest with you? Because I feel like, from a listener's perspective, and I can only imagine how you feel, I feel like it would be so hard to trust anybody, even yourself.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's true. I don't really trust anyone. I think the person that's the most honest with me right now is my sister. Um,
Mm,
and I think you know, she's super real about what she does and doesn't remember. When she has a memory pop up that she couldn't remember before, she reaches out. She's like, "Oh, you said this on the show, and that reminded me of this thing I forgot about. I do remember hearing that name, or I do remember hearing something."
wow.
So I think she's the most honest. Um, and outside of that, I mean, I don't really trust anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you feel like your dad's murder was an inside job, whether it was a cover up by the town or your family?
100%. I don't think that. someone accidentally gets shot in the head with one gunshot at a doorstep with no robbery involved. My dad, nothing from my dad's house was stolen. They didn't even enter the house. They went there, they shot him, they left. I think that it was absolutely intentional. I think any police officer that says, oh, they saw him reach for a gun and they did it out of self-defense because they thought they were going to get shot at is all bull. You're on someone else's doorstep
Yeah.
and you're scared you're going to get shot, so you kill someone. You're at their house.
And you
Um,
didn't take nothing.
Nothing. They didn't
Wow.
even enter the home. They kicked the door in, and from outside of the doorway, they shot my dad and then they left. And
Wow.
with one kill shot, I mean, it wasn't like they were like boom, 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 and the one of
And
them
that's how
hit.
you know it was personal.
It was very deeply personal, and it was someone who knew exactly what they were doing, and they were calm, cool, and collected enough to get it and leave. Um,
Yeah.
so I think it was absolutely intentional. I think this was planned. Um, I think there were a
Think,
lot of people involved in the planning and execution of this, and a lot more people involved in the cover up.
do you feel like your father's life would have mattered more if he wasn't a black man with a criminal record?
Oh, absolutely. Undoubtedly. Uh,
Yeah.
I think this case would have been solved within months.
Yeah. Does it ever feel like time is just standing still while you're just trying to figure all this out?
Um, no, it feels like time is moving very fast and I am losing all of it. And I am
Mm.
never going to get these moments back in my life. Um, and that is deeply frustrating.
I can
Because
tell.
I'm missing, I think every part of our life is important. And I think we learned that during COVID, right? When it was sort of like, who's at a greater loss? Is it the kids graduating high school right now? Is it the kids graduating college? Is it the kids losing all their 20s? Is it the people
Yeah.
losing all their 30s? What about the people in their 40s? Who's losing the most for these 4 years of COVID? And the reality was everyone. Like
Everybody.
all of those moments are really important. And so when you take that out, you're missing a really big chunk of your life. And so there wasn't anyone sort of at a greater loss. It was just everyone was losing. And I feel like that right now with this, where it's like time continues to move. I started looking into this when I was 24 years old. That's when I called
Wow.
to get the case files, and I turned 30 in 2 months. And so to me, it's like time has just moved so fast. And I wish so badly that I could be 24 again and start this last 6 years over
Mm.
without this weight and go, how amazing and fun would my life have been? How amazing and fun would my 20s have been if I wasn't spending all of my time, energy, and money investigating my dad's murder? What would I have spent 100K on? What would I have done? Where would I have gone? What would I have
Yeah.
invested in for my future? Like, what would have my life have looked like? And it just feels like time just keeps spinning and is going light years faster than I ever thought it could. And I've missed out on all of these things.
Damn. When I see you, I'm gonna pull up to your show. I'm gonna give you a hug, Madison, because I feel your energy, and it's a lot. But I'm telling you, it's bigger than you, your father. Like you've really helping a lot of people out. So we're gonna get this GoFundMe link popping. We're gonna support you because I feel like you about to break, and I don't want that to happen for you, Madison. So we're gonna get you together, and then I'm gonna buy you a camera. I'm gonna go on Amazon, get you a little camera for your house. Because my girl is stressed. Like I can tell. Like okay, we almost finished, I promise. But how has your view of death and legacy evolved over the years?
Oh, oh gosh. I mean, I think that I mean, I'm not afraid of death anymore. I welcome
Clearly, tell myself, please take
no,
me out.
but I think my idea of legacy has really shifted because I think that, we all, well, I don't know. I think we try to, or I try to, um build a life that's like worthy of legacy, right? And it's funny because it's like as if that's in our control. Because if it
Right.
were, my dad's legacy would be completely different than it is now. I
Yeah.
actually think the legacy is in the hands of the people that you're around and who is left behind. And I think the only thing you can do is be so good to people that they have no choice but to like really carry on your memory. You don't
Right.
decide what your legacy is. It's really up to other people. And I think that's something that like has really stuck with me because we think that like you work hard and you do all these things and that's the legacy you leave behind. But if no
Right.
one is talking about it and it didn't really do anything for anyone, then it really doesn't matter. Um,
That's a
and
fact.
so yeah, I think that's sort of how this has all evolved and changed because 20 years ago, like I don't think anyone would have thought my dad would have any sort of legacy. And now it feels like, I'd love to see laws changed with his name on it and like things done in the name of JC McGhee. And it's like that's a legacy. And that wasn't because he did or didn't do anything. It's because the people who were left behind did something for him. And so I hope that like I'm building a community of people that if, one day I'm not here, they do something on my behalf because really they carry the legacy. It's not up to us.
Right. Do you ever feel your dad?
Um, yes. I have like it's so weird. I think there's a ghost in my apartment. My boyfriend hates when I talk about this. He thinks it's so creepy, but I'm like, "Oh, don't worry, it's just my dad." And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, like he's in the other room, it's fine." Um, yeah, I had a medium actually come to my apartment a couple years ago
Madison, we
before the
gotta get a movie,
podcast.
Madison. We gotta get a movie because I'm just like, what
It's
happened?
so crazy. It started with my cat was so my desk, so this is like my second room in my apartment, and my desk is
Yeah.
here. My cat was like over on this side. And she was like staring like above my desk, but like into the like air. Like she was like looking at, there was nothing there. And she was like staring. And at the time, oh, they're still here, but my dad's case files were under my desk. And I kept being like, that's so weird. What is she looking at? And she was doing it for like a long time. And my cat's pretty crazy. Like she's a Bengal. She like runs around. She's psycho. And she was super calm and she was like reaching for something above my desk. I mean, it was like so crazy. And she did it for long enough. I like videoed it. It was like a 2.5 minute long video. It's so crazy. So I sent it to my friend and she was like, "Oh, there's like a spirit in your apartment. Like she's looking at something." And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of weird." So I called this girl I'd never really talked to before, but I had her info from another friend. And she knew nothing about my dad. The podcast wasn't out yet. You couldn't Google anything. And I was just like, "Hey, Kelsey, like wondering if you could like come over to my house and do like a reading with me." And she was like, "Yeah,
Mm.
sure, totally." So she came over and I was like, "I want to do it in this room." So we like sat on this couch and it was the craziest thing ever. She sat down and she was like, "When I came in, I saw something." And I was like, "Oh?" And she was like, "I saw a woman standing in front of a man. And the man was like hiding in the shadows. He wouldn't come out because he felt unjustified."
Mm.
And like she knows nothing. She doesn't know my dad is dead. She doesn't know he was murdered. She knows nothing. And I was like, "What?" And she was like, and she kept using the word like unjustified. Like he feels like there's no justice and he won't come out until there's justice. And I think
Wow.
the woman standing in front of him was my grandma that Rico references because my grandma kept saying, like, "I can't die until I know what happened to my son. I can't die until I know what happened to my son." And I think she found out and she was in the hospital shortly after. And my Aunt Pearl, who is Omar's mom, is the one who decided to pull the plug.
Wow.
So I think that she found out and Pearl was very eager to like expedite this situation. I mean, she was sick and old. I'm not saying like Pearl killed my grandma, but I
Right.
think that, she was like, "Okay, you're old, you're sick, and it was so and so. You're done." And I do think that my grandma died knowing what happened. Um, so yeah, very weird. But she came over. I mean, she was here for like an hour and a half. I actually recorded the whole thing. I've never released it. So I'm thinking about doing it as like a bonus episode now because so
You
much has happened.
should.
This was like over 2 years ago. to kind of see, like, she said a lot of stuff. I haven't even really listened back in a while. She said a lot of stuff, and I kind of want to go through and be like, oh, and that's true, and that happened, and then that happened, and oh my God, she said this, and I didn't even remember, and then this happened, and I'd love to kind of go back through it. But even in that moment, it was like, because I'm kind of like, I'm spiritual and I feel stuff sometimes, but like
Yeah.
medium stuff, I'm kind of like, man, not for me, which is why I went in and I was like, I'm not going to tell this girl anything. So if she's like talking all kinds of crazy, like I'm going to know it's not real. And then she started doing all this stuff and I was like, I was like
Yeah.
speechless. It was so crazy. So it was really interesting. She said a bunch of stuff and she like looked at the case files and she was like pointing at things. I mean, it was so bizarre. Um, it was really powerful. And I think that that was like kind of my dad. This was like about a month before the show came out.
Mm.
First episode dropped. And so I do think it was this moment of my dad being like, okay, like put it out and like, let's just see what happens. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So we spoke about this earlier. So what does closure look like for you if you don't get justice?
I think I already have it. I think I'm at a point where I can, anything more I do now is great and I'm gonna keep going as long as I physically can. But
Yeah.
like between bankrupting myself to solve my dad's murder and getting his name Googleable and all of this coverage, I'm like, I think I can confidently say I've done everything I can to solve this case. And I think that's the point that 2 years ago, if you had asked me like what I really wanted, it was that. It was I want to do whatever it takes to solve it. And I do now feel like I've done everything that I can and I'd love to do more, but I do feel like I'm at a point where it's like anything more is more, and anything I've done so far is like everything I could have done. And
Yeah.
so, to me, I think that's closure is going to bed at night going like I did everything that I possibly could do. Um,
Yeah.
I put it out there. I talked to people. I flew back and met with Daryl Smith and I talked to Rico and I got the police's attention and I did all this stuff. Like to me, that's a sense of closure. I would love for this case to go to court and I would love for everyone who was involved in the murder and in some sort of cover up to see their day in court. Um, but for now, I feel like I've done everything I can, and I think that's closure to me.
Yeah. And last but not least, if you could speak to your dad one last time, what would you say to him?
Can I borrow $100?
Because
No.
I know he has some coins, okay?
I um I mean, I would have been like, move. Move to LA. No, I don't know. It's so interesting because it's like then I start to contextualize and I'm like, what would I say now? Or what would I say if he had never been murdered and we were just kicking it? And I didn't
Right.
know any of this stuff about him. It's interesting. I do wish that I could have kind of a normal relationship with my dad. Um, my sister and my dad kind of fought a lot because she was 16 and she was going through, those teenage years and whatever. And it's funny, I'm like, oh, I wish I could fight with my dad. Like, I wish I had, those moments
Yeah.
of just like real raw like emotion with like, oh, I want to hate my dad, I want to be like 16 and my dad tells me I can't go to the movies and I'm like,
And I
I
sneak out.
do, you suck, like you don't love
Right.
me, you don't want me to have any fun. Like I want those moments. And um yeah, it's weird. There's a lot I wish that I could have had. I mean, I think now like it's very interesting. I'm seeing someone who I really am excited about and it's like, oh, I just
Okay.
wish that like I wish he could meet my dad. I wish, like I don't know. I just it's like very weird to be in this position and be like, "Oh, I just wish he was here for like these moments in my life that are like really important and exciting." Like I just ordered my mom Mother's Day flowers and I would have been like, "Hey dad, can we like go half and half on these
Right.
flowers?" Like just like it's the little things that I think I wish I could sort of participate in and like do with my dad that I just can't and it's a bummer.
Yeah. Well, I'm super proud of you, sis. I'm really happy that we were able to connect, and however I can support you, I will be doing it. So tell everybody where we can support you at. Give us your socials, tell us what's next so we can stay up to date and keep supporting you and keep you lifted because I can only imagine how taxing this is on you.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. So I'm the podcast is Ice Cold Case, wherever you get your podcasts, it's Ice Cold Case on social. And then I'm Madison_McGhee on everything. And yeah, I'm gonna be posting more clips soon.
Yes. And to the listeners, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please make sure to email me at hello@thephhdpodcast.com. And this was fun. I had so much fun
So
kicking
fun.
with you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing. You're amazing, and I'm truly so glad that we got to do this.
Me too, me too. Because Delta almost held me back. He's supposed to have been done this, but that's another story. But until next time, everyone, later. I'm not gonna say bye.
Oh, bye.